Hi, church family. Pastor Eric here with today's Word from the Word. And as we continue to look at various aspects from the previous Sunday's message, one of the things that the message led me to think about was God's will for our lives. I think it's one of the questions that people ask the most. What does God want for me? What does He want from me? What decisions does He want me to make? And various people have taken positions around just how involved God is in our everyday decisions. And for me, I look at God's will for my life as being a part of the larger picture being our relationship with God. And if you think about the relationship with your children or with other people, relationships go two ways, and that means that each part bears responsibility for whatever their own part is. Now, we're blessed because we have a God who takes on the major part. He provides for our salvation. He controls and permits the world around us to exist. We don't always understand why, and we don't always agree, but because we believe that God is good, no matter what happens in world affairs or in elections or in crisis situations, I take comfort because God is there. God has either caused it or allowed it, and He's going to use even the worst things for His purposes. But it begs the question, what is our responsibility in all that? Well, if we remember in the passage, Paul talks about somebody who loses their spouse to death, and he's talking about widows and that they're free to remarry. And there's no requirement other than that they are a believer. Now, that challenges the notion, as we talked about on Sunday, that there's only one right person in our lives. The right person in your life is the person that you have chosen. It's not some magical formula you're searching for. It is a thing that is important in terms of our commitment to one another, that our love for one another and our commitment to one another is a choice, not just a feeling. We can have feelings that come and go, but our choices matter and our commitment matters. And it has a wider scope of application. In other words, people say, well, is there one right person for me to marry? Is there one right job for me to marry? Is there one right house for me to buy? Is there one right place for me to live? And I don't think so. I think that there are times when God has specific things in mind for us, and only you'll be able to know when and where that is. But as a general rule, God simply wants us to bloom where we're planted. That He is not as concerned with where we are as to how we live wherever we are. He wants us to seek out places where we can serve Him and glorify Him. And if that means changing jobs or finding something that resonates better with our souls and our skills, there's nothing wrong with that. He kind of addressed that idea back earlier in the chapter when he says, if you're a slave, don't let that concern you. Don't let it captivate your thinking in your life. Don't be a victim of your circumstance, but show Christ in the middle of your circumstance. And then he goes on and says, but if you can win your freedom, do so. Why would he say that? He would say that because it leaves you freer and more devoted to serve God rather than your master. And that's part of the principle that we are responsible to make sure that we are not being enslaved to anything other than our love for Christ, that we are not being mastered by anything other than our worship of God. So that means not being mastered by my possessions, my hobbies, or even relationships. That all those things are not bad in and of themselves, but they need to be filtered through my relationship with God. In other words, I want to hold my wife in high esteem, but I don't want her to be my idol. I want her to be my prized bride who I love through Christ, so that she is a part of my expression of Christ-like living rather than something that I idolize. The same thing would be true for my children, my possessions, my hobbies. Do I include God in each and every one of those things? And God is pleased when we make decisions that honor Him. The interesting thing is that we can honor Him whichever decision we make, as long as it's not a sinful decision. So, do I think that God sometimes has very specific things in mind for us? Yes, there's times when you have no doubt that God brought something to you that you should be involved in, a place you should go to, or a person you should be in a relationship with. But most of the time, God is saying, make your choices. I want to see you mature and grow in wisdom and Christ likeness, and be pleased by how you honor and glorify me through your choices and through your lifestyle. So, our goal isn't to determine the one right thing. Our goal is to be right in the things that we choose and in the way we choose to honor God. I hope that helps you. It's encouraged me today. God bless you. Look forward to seeing you soon.